Greetings, ne'er-do-wells from Azeroth Court, and today I'm going to review The Boys, Season 5, Episode 7, The Frenchman, the Female, and Mother's Milk. I have mixed feelings about this episode. While I do think that it was a passable episode overall, with certainly some high points, I also feel that some of the parody of American culture, such as the scene in the middle with the cowboy show, where there was like this cowboy character, and he was like confronting Starlighter and a bunch of illegal immigrants somewhere in the American Southwest. I think that was a little heavy-handed, and that's been a real complaint of mine about the Boys in season 4. This political satire has become very heavy-handed, too much on the nose, which I think distracts and detracts from the point they're trying to make. Like, it was never really subtle, but it's kind of gotten a little bit too real world. And I don't mean the parallels with Trump and Amanga. I mean more so just the general parody of American culture. It's gotten too much on the nose. All the celebrity name dropping has gotten worse, and yeah, not really a big fan of that. So I have mixed, like I say, impressions of this episode. The main plot points, I'm not going to do a one for one for this and go over everything, but the main plot points were that at the beginning of the episode, I'm going to do the mode of sequence, so kind of a stream of consciousness review. Homelander arrives in the Oval Office, talks to Ashley and the president, and he murders him after he asks Ashley to read his mind, or more so the tumor in the back of her head. You know, I guess we'd call her homunculus, or maybe pickle punk Ashley. Well, the tumor twin. And she reads the mind of the president, and the president really doesn't believe in Homelander, doesn't believe he's a god, just scared of him and thinks he's like psychotic. So Homelander crushes his head and kills him. This after he got the V1 at the end of the last episode, though the heavens fall. And we also have a scene with the Oh Father, which is hilarious. A great parody of evangelical Christianity, especially in the US. All the mega churches and that, where it's like all about showmanship and it's more a business than about faith. And he has a bunch of scantily clad angel girls dancing around him, twerking at one point. And he's singing, like, well, it plays into the whole, presentation of him as like a cross between Elvis Presley with the whole jumpsuit thing and Pompadour and a corrupt Southern preacher with all his mannerisms and the way he talks. And I've encountered people like that where I am, that with the whole Southern twang, even though I'm not from an area in the deep South. Old Selgris hasn't been to the deep South much, but he's been to other areas and I've seen how those evangelicals talk with the Southern drawl and how they have those store-bought smile, store-bought suits, all the rings and the like. So I thought that was hilarious. A real lampoon of the corrupt evangelical movement in the mega churches in the U.S. And now that the boys know that the soup killing virus, which I'm very happy that's off the table, I didn't really want them to commit genocide, though they don't really address how Annie and Yui left that the virus there in the aerosol dispenser in the mega church at the in Florida at the last episode. That's never brought up again. I hope they disarm that, but if not, well, that'll be interesting. Especially with the only one episode left now after this one. But it's never mentioned again, and their new plan is to bombard poor Kamiko with radiation so that she can gain one of those irradiating blast powers similar to Soldier Boy. Frenchie doing that to her. He doesn't really want to, but Kamiko is all in for this, because they got to stop Homelander, strip the Z1 out of the system, assuming that would work. And Frenchie wants help from Sister Sage, but she's like depressed and doesn't really want to help him because she doesn't understand love, even though she was in love with Godolkin, which kind of brings that up there. And Generation V how he kind of went off script with the plan, and then Soldier Boy's love of Clara there, aka Stormfront the Nazi, made him give the V1 shot to a Homelander. That's how illogical it is, and a big part of the episode is Frenchie convincing her that love is worthwhile, and that and to get her help to make Kimiko into a living A bomb, something that it took the Russians a decade of experimentation to accomplish with Soldier Boy. So that's the big underlying plot point of the whole episode. And the Deep finally gets his comeuppance. Finally, though he's still alive at the end of the episode, spoiler alert. But his fish buddies still believe he is responsible for that pipeline that New Noir destroyed last episode, and then of course the Deep killed him for it. So the fish still believe that. He's confronted by a shark at one point. They tell him anywhere he goes in the water that they're going to kill him because of that. And later in the episode, he won't save, even though he's on camera, like he's being recorded, by phones and live streamed. He won't save a drowning old man because the fish say they're going to kill him anytime he goes in water because they blame him for the fish genocide. And they're like, remember March 15th? Like they tell him there, the shark. It's hilarious. So now he's more useless than ever, the Deep, because he does have a degree of super strength and a few other minor powers, but his whole main thing, being a parody of Aquaman, is that he communicates with sea life and, is more powerful in the water. Well, he can't use those powers anymore. And then he goes to Homelander, feeling bad about this. And he Homelander tells him he's decided to disband the Seven and that he basically doesn't need him anymore and dismisses him. So after everything he did through four, almost 5 seasons now for Homelander, being like the most loyal of the little toadies, doing all the dirty work, and Homelander just dismisses him without a second thought, which is hilarious and is an interesting commentary on the nature of neo-Nazism and different movements of that type of authoritarian movements, of how some people are just apparatchiks, minor or moderate level apparatchiks, and when they're not needed anymore, well, they're not needed anymore and they're dismissed by the leadership. So the Deep is now basically screwed. He's trying to get as far away from the water as possible. Even his agent, who he's talking to on the phone at one point, when he's letting the old man drown because he won't go into the ocean, even though it's only a few feet offshore. She's like, well, that's your whole brand, you know, being near the water. Without it, you're pretty useless. And, well, he's like, I don't care. I want to be like somewhere landlocked like Arizona. And then there's Soldier Boy. Homelander is like making his, telling about his plans for a theme park, dedicated to the two of them, him being the Messiah, and basically Homelander being God, that he's the son of God. And Soldier Boy is lukewarm at it. He doesn't want his part of the park, and he admits once again, or reiterates, I should say, the only reason he gave Homelander the V1 was for Clara, aka Stormfront, and they have a dust up, and basically, uh, Soldier Boy tells him again, low key, that he's ashamed of him, that he's weird, and that he really doesn't want the whole father son bonding with him, that he plans to go down to Colombia and work his way through quote unquote the Banana Republics, basically like raping and pillaging, and that he doesn't think he'll be back to the US, for the foreseeable future. So Homelander flips out like a true coward, because I think he's still afraid of Soldier Boy, even though he is stronger and more durable now, or as durable now as he gets the V1. So that advantage is gone for Soldier Boy. He after he says how he repaired his shield and got him a new outfit and got a red, white, and blue and garish there, a Soldier Boy fully rejects him, turns around to leave, and like I say, like a coward, Homelander puts him in a chokehold from behind, chokes him out, and puts him back in the capsule with the gas to knock him out again. He's back in there again, Soldier Boy. So it'll be interesting if he dies at the conclusion of the next episode, or if he stays in that capsule again, like he did for a couple of years. But he's going to be pissed when he gets if he gets out. So I hope Homelander's ready. I would like to see these two throw down for real, so it'll be interesting to see if that happens. And we get a cameo from a couple of the Generation V characters, really the stars, certainly the protagonists. We get Maria Morale and Joy Lee in her female form. They appear, and there's something in there that I don't like because they have like a talk of Mother's Milk and Starlight, and Starlight basically says, in a nutshell, to Marie that after Mother's Milk says, "Oh, like super powerful, you're like close to home level, Homelander's level," and Starlight says, "Oh yeah, but what good are your powers if you can't control them?" But Marie was improving greatly, and by the end of season two of the now canceled, apparently Generation V, she had powers to the point where she could bring people back from the dead or near dead, or just died. So that kind of contradicts that. So that's, I guess, an excuse to get her off the table. Kind of lazy writing, same as it was with how they sidelined Ryan in the second episode. So that now they have to rely on this plan to make Kamiko like the next living A bomb to strip Homelander potentially of its powers by second note to V or blasting note to V1. So I think that's a little bit contrived. How they're taking every other option off the table. So Frenchie does convince his sister Sage to help him to stop wallowing her self pity. And another interesting thing that happens is they do a test group there, a test screening of their message where they have like Jesus passing on his mantle to Homelander, and they have like mind reading psychics in there with O Father, like Soups, and they read the minds of the 30 participants they chose for their online support of Homelander being so fervent. And only six of them believe that he's actually God or some type of deity. So they leave the remaining 24 in there, lock him in there with Dognot and the cat girl character from one of the earlier episodes, and they basically, I think it's episode two again, and they, it's one with the weird version of the thing, and they start killing them, and Mother's Milk and Starlight save them after Mother's Milk is the origin of his name and how he saved this pigeon, and everyone laughed at him and said, "Are you like letting it suck you off, or either your boobs or your dick?" And that's what they called him, Mother's Milk. After his grandfather was killed by Soldier Boy, and they save them, take them to Marie and Joy, some safe house. So that was disappointing. We don't get to see like Kate or any of the other Gen V characters. Though I think Kate is a powerful psychic, might be able to F up Homelander too, is mentally, and in conjunction with Marie, they might stand a chance. But once again, like with Ryan, it's lazy writing taken off the table, I think. So, so they could create the artificial drama. Though, oh, we have no choice but to make Kamiko into the next Soldier Boy. So even though it's almost killing her, all this radiation they're zapping her with. And Ashley becomes now, she was VP with the president dead, she becomes president. Her tumor sister tries to talk her out of it, saying that this is wrong and that Homelander might kill her too. But she's like, I've lost every election when I was like a kid to like some other girl, and she's never really been super popular, and now she's the president, even if she is just by default, and also because of she's Homelander's puppet. So she's going to take him anyway. When Starlight, Mother's Milk, Huey, and Butcher go to where this focus group is being held, with the 30 people for our friend Homelander becoming God. They are captured by, well, Huey and Butcher are captured by one of the psychics, Synapse, who they let out of prison apparently to help. Because they're using these three to everyone's bodies, see if they're genuinely into Homelander or not. I think to brainwash them later. It's not like clear what the exact plan is completely. So, yeah, they're captured. And we get the return of Kessler because Synapse either can morph into him to reading the mind of Butcher, or he kind of puts a psychic projection and makes Yui and Butcher think that he's like Kessler. And Kessler says that he was never evil. That was just being projected on him by Butcher, the subconscious, when he's playing like the tumor, embodiment in Butcher's mind, like last season. And he gives episode, Butcher was always like a sociopath and he was the bad one. And really was the tumor, kind of contradicting what we saw with the shadow self, as embodied by mentally by the tumor last season. And then then Yui distracts him enough so the Butcher can get free because he's been mentally suppressing Butcher's powers while they're like in chains. And he kills Kessler slash Synapse with, his cancer tentacle powers. And they all return to the school. It's been their hideout for the last few episodes. And now Sister Sage is helping Frenchie, bombard Kamiko with enough radiation, this chamber, to become like the next Soldier Boy. But it's never made clear if it actually works or not, because Homelander, who got the information from Synapse, who read the minds of Huey and Butcher when they were briefly captured, that imparts that information onto Homelander, who arrives, and Frenchie puts Kamiko and Sister Sage into this locker that's apparently lined with zinc, and Homelander, as established in previous seasons, can see through zinc. So when he's scanning, when Homelander arrives, he kind of notices that locker, but then Frenchie has no choice but to distract him by like tapping on a door where he's hiding nearby, a door frame. And not Butcher, Frenchie and Homelander have a confrontation. I wish Butcher were there because what happens next? And Frenchie won't tell him anything, of course, except for Homelander figures out they're probably making the next Soldier Boy, but Frenchie kind of semi lies to him and says it's too late. We've already done it. And then he tells Homelander that I bet you never danced once, so basically alluding to that he never lived any kind of normal life or enjoyed himself despite all his power. And he also opens up like the reactor where they get some radiation material or whatever it is, and exposes himself and Homelander in that room. And Homelander is bothered by it a bit, not as much as he was a couple episodes ago. So you can see the effects of the V1, like increased endurance. And then off screen, this after he locks, of course, Frenchie, Sister Sage, and Kamiko in this zinc-lined locker. We hear Homelander leave with his whoosh, and off screen he must have attacked poor Frenchie because he's bleeding from his abdomen and torso when Kamiko finds him there laying on the floor. And they have a heartfelt goodbye, and Frenchie dies, which is very sad because he's one of the most innocent characters in the whole thing, especially of the boys group. Like he's like right there with Yui and arguably Mother's Milk as one that I really didn't want to see die, but he dies in Kamiko's arms, telling her Frenchie will love her forever. This was after earlier in the episode he agreed to the three kids she wanted, and they were going to get like a rescue dog and go live in Marseille in the south of France if this all ended. So that's very sad. He tells her before he dies that she saved him. Like when she's like, I gotta save you, he's like, you already did. You already did save me. So that's very, very sad. So overall, this was a mixed bag. Like I say, it's getting really too heavy-handed on some of the political stuff, in my opinion, especially the stuff that doesn't really have to do with religion or manga, just generally right-wing stuff. But that's been a complaint that's been accelerating in my mind and getting worse in season 4. But there were some high points, such as it was kind of funny and also dark to see the impending fate of the Deep, like everything he did as a loyal toady, and now it's backfiring on him. And then there was the surprise fate, perhaps semi-fate, of Soldier Boy. A Homelander betrayed him again. It was also interesting that Homelander didn't become president like in the comic book source material, but Ashley now is still the stooge as president. And of course, Frenchie sacrifice. We're still not 100% sure that Kamiko now has the juice, but to round back to another one of my complaints, besides the heavy-handed political stuff, I think they're sidelining Marie and Kate, who's off screen, and Ryan, like too quickly and also conveniently, because they wanted to do the whole noble sacrifice thing with Frenchie, which I really don't think those characters should be sidelined. They could have played a role in the downfall of Homelander, but I guess that's off the table now. So it's kind of lazy writing and it's sloppy there. So I give it a 3 out of 5, kind of a mixed bag for the reasons that I said. kind of a downgrade from the last couple episodes, in my opinion. And I am a little concerned that the ending might fall flat and he might not stick it because of some of the stuff that's been happening this season. And they did waste a lot of time with a couple episodes with stuff that was unnecessary. They've gone over before, like Annie's long lost father and stepbrother, and it just the stuff with Ryan, how they wrote him off so easily, and yeah, there's been a lot of time wasting, some questionable decisions here, but we'll see what happens. Well, from Azeroth's Court, that's it for me for the video for today. The review of The Boys, Season 5, Episode 7, The Frenchman, The Female Mother's Milk, and now we only have one more episode to go. I don't know how they're going to wrap everything up and do it convincingly and do it well with only about an hour left of a typical episode. I think they're going to have to double the length, but we shall see. Oh, the one last thing I'll say real quick. I wish we got introduced to O Father like last season. I think it's a shame that we only have a few episodes to get to know this character because I love the character, like the corrupt Southern preacher and the whole kind of fused with Elvis and the pop culture way of doing religion that's so big with the mega churches in the U.S. and the actor's doing a great job portraying him. Like at one point, he like says to Homelander on the phone. Homelander's like, kill the dissenters, like the 24 from that focus group. He's like, I can convert him. Just give me time. And Homelander just doesn't even bother giving him time. But yeah, I think, and look at how he confessed like last episode to Starlight. The reason he believes in Homelander is because God never answered his prayers. Homelander does, good or bad, being a person. But yeah, I wish we got more time with the actor and the character. But alas, some questionable writing decisions the last couple seasons, especially this season. But we shall see how it all works out. If it'll be a flop or if it'll be a fantastical, we shall see. So from Azeroth's Court again, this is Felgus signing off. All you Homelander wannabes and ne'er-do-wells, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye for now, everybody.